Hi everyone, I'm reading of Magic and Scales by Natalina Reis, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, The Man God. I'm not sure what I am, but I certainly know what I am not. I know I'm not a witch because, well, I'm male. I'm definitely not an elf, since I have no sudden urges to hop onto somebody's shelf around Christmas. Vampire I am not. My perfectly straight teeth have never once turned into fangs. Neither have I ever had a sudden strange craving for human blood. I'm not a werewolf either. I do have hair on my body, but nothing that would qualify me as a wolfman. Besides, I'm still pretty much myself during full moons. But I am not irregular either, because unlike most normal humans, I can see magic beings. By seeing, I mean I recognize them as such. Anyone can see them, unless the magicals choose for them not to. I, on the other hand, can always recognize them, unless they purposely hide themselves behind a special magical charm. I don't remember not having the ability, so I'm guessing I was born like this. Whatever this is. Good thing I'm used to it, because seeing magical beings for what they are can be a pretty traumatizing experience, as it was the time I freaked out during a trip to Greece, when I had a close encounter with a Minotaur. Nice chap, as it turns out, but not a pretty sight. I've lived a pretty normal life. Average life, running BKSRS, a coffee shop in a small coastal town in sunny Portugal, for the past year or so. After an incident in Northern Virginia that put me on the pages of the local news, don't ask. It involved a pretty handsome elf and his irate troll boyfriend. I thought it would be better to start again somewhere new. I had visited the tiny nation some years before and fallen in love with its never-ending beaches and kicked-back lifestyle. So I packed my bags, contacted a real estate agent and the immigration office, and got myself a brand new life. I had played with the idea of buying a coffee shop on the beach, but I figured it would be a mother to keep the place and the coffee free of sand. So I bought a store nearby in the town square, a short walk from the beach. Portugal is littered with three things: tourists, ancient churches, and coffee shops. Nobody would notice me. The brown-haired, blue-eyed American who came to explore the locals' passion for the hot brew. The other perk of living here was that magical creatures were not spotted as often. Vampires were virtually non-existent because of the year-round sunny weather. Trolls and ogres were limited to the mountains in the north, and unless you visited the nearby mountain of Sintra, that crawled with magical activity, the only threat of magic on the coast was the sporadic water sprite and the beach-combing witches who sold their wares in local shops. All in all, a pretty placid place for someone like me to live. I enjoyed today's cool breeze blowing from the ocean. Sitting on a chair in my small esplanade under a red umbrella with a glass of cold beer in my hand. Yes, in this sunny paradise I was allowed to sell and buy alcohol in my coffee shop. Behind my light pinewood counter, the wall shelves were covered in bottles that held more than coffee flavorings. What a great nation this was. While Christina, my only employee, was busy serving the few customers who loitered inside the cafe, I could enjoy the local fauna as they hurried from shop to shop or headed out to the beach. Summer hadn't quite arrived yet, but the sun had warmed the air enough for the locals to shed their wintry clothes and don more relaxed apparel. From behind my shades, I followed the trek of three young men, all shirtless and in swimming trunks. Hot. Not the weather. The guys, tanned, lean, and muscular, shorts low enough on their hips to reveal the sexy V. Hola para ti, a saber como un cow por un beef? Christina had sneaked up from behind me and interrupted my yummy thoughts. Speak English, woman, I told her, sliding my glasses down my nose to look at her over the rim. You'd think you're Portuguese or something. She slapped me mercilessly across the back of my head and plopped herself on the chair next to mine. Idiota. Without so much as a may I, my small Portuguese friend and employee grabbed the glass from my hand and took a long swig of my beer. Are you going to sit here all afternoon watching the hot guys walking by? And what's wrong with that? Christina spoke flawless English, but enjoyed confusing me with spurts of Portuguese once in a while. She pulled up another chair and placed her feet on the seat, her legs crossed at the knees. What exactly did you call me just now? A dog salivating over a steak. She took another swig before I could retrieve my beer. Don't you have more important things to do with your life, Aiden? I wiped her foam mustache with a finger. Not really. Why do you think I moved here from Virginia? She blinked, her eyes at me, pretending not to know what I was talking about. Easy living, sunshine, and hot half-naked guys. Christina laughed, her face turned to the sun. She had skin the same color as the cork in a wine bottle, a honeyed brown made darker since the early spring weather replaced the cool air of winter. You're something, Aiden. You have no other dream or ambition, just basking in the sun and ogling sexy men? Not quite correct, but part of the truth. Are you jealous? The skin crinkled around her green eyes as she turned her gaze to me. Only if you flirt with guys I have my eyes on. She spotted a couple of newly arrived customers and hopped to her feet. Customers. Unlike you, I have some interest in making a buck here and there. I enjoy having a roof over my head. As she walked away, I yelled, "No need, you can always sleep on the beach." I heard her humph from inside the shop, and I laughed. I loved messing with her. The truth was, I was not as shallow as I liked everyone to believe. But after the many complications of life in the U.S., where magical beings seemed to vie for my attention, I was enjoying a truly relaxed, non-committal, and peaceful new existence. I dropped my head until it rested on the back of the chair, slid my bottom forward, and closed my eyes. A nap might be in order. The store didn't get busy until later in the evening when the ocean breeze cooled the air to an even more pleasant temperature, and all the locals who had been at work all day came out to play. Portuguese were night people who enjoyed socializing outdoors until late in the evening. I often had to turn off lights and lock the door with customers still sitting on my chairs outside. "Can we get any service in this joint?" The low, deep voice startled me from my semi-sleeping state. I straightened up on the chair and looked at the stranger through my dark glasses. He was sitting a couple tables away from me, looking as menacing as he was handsome. Where's the fucking waitress? The dark man spoke English with an American accent, and I had never seen him before. I'd remember if I had. He was impressive, all dark and broody, muscles bulging out from his t-shirt sleeves and brown eyes narrowed in annoyance. His lips were pressed into a mere slash as he scanned the area looking for Christina. Reluctantly, I stood up and walked to his table. "Could you please refrain from cussing out my staff?" His eyes, sheltered by strong eyebrows and thick eyelashes, lifted to mine. Damn, amazing eyes. I shook my head and focused back to the matter at hand. This guy had just insulted Christina, my only employee and friend. "Are you the manager?" he asked, his gaze never leaving mine as he crossed his arms, emphasizing his already impressive biceps. Was that a tattoo peeking from underneath the white sleeve? "I'm the owner, you hot idiot, you focus Aiden, and I don't appreciate you referring to my server that way." He sneered. "I've been sitting in this empty Esplanade for 5 whole minutes, and she hasn't even acknowledged my presence." The tip of his tongue popped out from in between his lips for a second, and I shifted my weight from one leg to another, hoping the movement would discreetly rearrange my manly parts inside my jeans. "Not much of a businessman, are you? How do you expect to make a profit if you ignore your customers?" I didn't care how sexy the guy was. I was not about to allow him to question my business expertise, which, admittedly, was not the best, or the efficiency of my staff. "Listen, sir, really. Was I really trying to find out his name? My last foster mother was right. I should wear a hat more often. All that sunshine was baking my brains." With something akin to a low growl, the stranger stood up, revealing his full length. I gulped. Holy Mother of God, the man was huge. With his shadow totally covering me, I wondered whether I'd be able to stare up at him in all his 6 feet plus height without looking like a munchkin. "Neil Fouchard," he muttered in a low, sexy voice. "Where was a cold shower when you desperately needed one? And who may I be talking to?" he asked, looking down on me, both literally and figuratively. With a smirk, he added, "So I can report you to the Better Business Bureau." "Ah, there's no such thing in Portugal." "Jesus, could I sound any lamer?" He laughed, a booming sound that reverberated inside of me. "Whatever equivalent they have over here." My legs were like chocolate melting in the sun. I wanted to hate this presumptuously rude man, but my traitor body had other ideas. "Be my guest." Oh God, did I squeak? "Christine is busy in the back, but I will gladly take your order, Mr. Fouchard." "Very gladly indeed. Do you want me to wrapped in a bow too, to go?" "That could also be arranged." "Stop. This man is obnoxiously rude, so stop lusting over him." "Uma bique pastel de nata." The man could speak Portuguese. Color me impressed. My Portuguese was rudimentary at best, but I knew the cafe-related words well enough to know he meant an espresso and a custard tart. I was about to walk away to fetch the man God his order when he wrapped his big hand around my forearm to stop me. You still haven't told me your name. I was sure he heard me swallow. Electricity ran from the spot his fingers were pressing on my skin to my groin. Aiden Mercer, I coughed out. At your service. He released my arm and laughed. Conceited prick. He thought I was into him, which totally was, but that didn't mean I wanted him to know it. I'll get your food. I made my escape as quickly as my jellied legs could carry me. Christina, the little devil, was watching the whole scene from inside the shop. Got yourself a hot one, haven't you? She said, a crooked smile on her face. Wipe that smile from your face, woman. I was more irritated with myself for reacting so strongly to the asshole outside than with her making jokes about it. He's the most obnoxious idiot on the coast, hotness notwithstanding. Get me a beacon pastel. Christina scoffed and placed a cup under the espresso machine. The whistling temporarily distracted me from the sound of my heart beating in my ears while I scooped the pastry onto a dessert plate. I set it on a small tray next to the foaming espresso and a cinnamon shaker. I took a deep breath and stepped outside, Christine chuckling behind me. Here's your coffee and pastry, Mr. Fouchard. I couldn't help feeling that I sounded like a twit. It's on the house. Please accept it with our most sincere apologies. Even though he really was the one who owed me an apology. But like the saying went, the customer was always right. I set the small cup in front of him on the table, followed by the pastry. His fingers briefly touched mine, and I nearly dropped the freaking saucer. Cinnamon? I asked. The handsome giant looked at me with those amazing dark eyes and gave me a lopsided smile. Sure, knock yourself out. My poor insides were on fire, and some of the outside parts too. I sprinkled the pastry with the cinnamon until the whole custard filling had turned brown and the sweet, spicy scent tickled my nose. Will this be enough? He lowered his eyes while he stirred his coffee. Not even close, he said low enough that I was not sure I had heard him correctly. But I'll be back for more. I stood there like an idiot, unable to say anything or move while he downed the espresso and swallowed the pastry in one bite. He stood up, shook some cinnamon from his t-shirt, and then gave me the once-over before walking away with a brief wave of the hand. Au revoir, monsieur Messer. I will be back. I watched him memorized as he walked. No, strolled away in a cross between a lazy walk and a strut. Hell, what just happened? Chapter 2. Beach bums and insults. Are you coming with us or what? Christina had the look on her face that said, you better come if you have any love for your life. She had her backpack thrown over one shoulder and a baseball cap on her head. Busting through my door early that morning, she was trying to convince me to go on a day adventure to Sintra, a mountain microclimate only 20 minutes away. I scratched my one-day scruff and yawned. No way, Christina, I'm not going. I dragged my bare feet over the tiled floor to my small kitchen to make myself a cup of coffee. Nothing you say will make me change my mind. I'll buy you all the travesserios you want at the Periquita, she taunted. Travesserios were a heavenly confection made with puff pastry and filled with an eggy jam of some kind that had made the Periquita coffee house famous. I had an addiction to those sweet little pillows, literally, the translation, and would sell my oldest spawn to get some. I'll even call my friend who works there and have him save you the best of the batch. My mouth salivated at the thought of biting into a warm out-of-the-oven travesero, but I shook my head. Tempting, but no. Hell no. Sintra was beautiful, a true magical place, which was the main reason I avoided it. Too many magical creatures had taken residence in that green paradise to make my visits comfortable. I preferred the company of regulars, so that if I did something stupid, which I did often, the worst thing that could happen would be a black eye and a fat lip. With magical creatures, there was no telling what they would do when pissed off, and I certainly didn't want to have to hide a rat's tail like I'd had to do a few years back after pissing off a fairy. The tail eventually fell off once the magic faded, but I'd had to hide in my apartment for 2 weeks and wear pants and underwear with a hole in the butt area. Not risking that again. You're such a party pooper, Christina said with a pout. Jorge will be disappointed. Thanks.